Our internet. Jason Wilmot here. We are doing another live today. Today we are going to be talking about Google Analytics. I know this is everybody's favorite thing. Google Analytics in an update. You probably got an email from Google today if you are using Google Analytics. We'll talk a little bit more about what you need to do because there's something coming that you need to take action on. It's not immediate action. This isn't end of the world, but Google Analytics, the one that you're using, is actually sunsetting. It's coming to an end. And what I want to do today is show you how easy it is to set up something called G4. It's a new version of Google Analytics. Hello to those who are watching already. So the G4 is a new form of Google Analytics. I know this is not everybody's favorite thing, but if you want to know how to set this up like in literally minutes, that's what I'm going to dive into today. I'm going to show you how to do this. Then we're going to talk a little bit about our content strategy that we're using, that we're utilizing right now, and how you can clone it and do the same thing, and how you can get results from just doing lives like this. And then last, what I want to do is talk a little bit about retargeting. Retargeting is in terms of your message, and in terms of the technical execution. Is it dead? Ever since the iOS update, is retargeting no more? I'm going to give you the sneak preview answer of no, it's not dead. You can still very much use it. So, open invitation to everybody watching. Go ahead and leave a comment or a question. Specifically today, again, we're talking about Google Analytics, how you need to take action on something actually somewhat soon. Talking about retargeting, and then our content strategy. So, if you have questions, if you have comments, if it's not related to that at all, go ahead and drop it in the chat because I'd love to interact with you. I'll just keep an eye on the chat over there. I can put the chat overlay over here, but nothing so far. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to dive right into Google Analytics because I think this is timely. If you have a web property, if you have a website and you have Google Analytics attached to it, most likely you got an email that looks like this today. It says, be ready for what's next with Google Analytics 4. This is the important part. On July 1, Universal Analytics. So what is Universal Analytics? Well, Universal Analytics is the current form of Google Analytics. So this is sunsetting. That's a cool way of saying it's not going to collect any more data approximately 1 year from now. So you've got some time to take action on this. But if you're like me, what I would suggest is to try to turn this on so you have at least a year's worth of data in G4 as well as Universal Analytics. So Universal Analytics is a type of analytics that you're using right now. G4 is the new form of Google Analytics. And I want to show you how to implement this. I mean, it doesn't take long. So if you have, 5 minutes, you can get this up and running. Now, that said, this is at least to start collecting data. There's a lot of other things that we need to do in order to optimize it for conversions and those sorts of pieces. So I'll talk about that after I set this up. So if you want to follow along in how to set up your Google Analytics 4 account, this is exactly how to do it. So you probably have a Google Analytics account just like this. Then all that we need to do is we need to log into so this is Universal Analytics. So I'm going to go down to admin, and then I am going to go to create property. So create property, this is where we start to see that we can either create a Google Analytics 4 property. If we click on show advanced options, then we can create a universal, but you get the big red, hey, this is going to die and everything along with it. So my property name is, I'm going to call this demo HACKTICS because we've already set one up. Now, one thing that I would suggest is to make sure that your time is right. Obviously, because you want to receive the data in real time according to what time zone that you're in. So here's the other gamble. I think I can actually set this up correctly on this live stream. I've only done this a couple of times. But chances are that I might run into a roadblock. So I'm going to hide these advanced options. I don't really need those. So what you need to do is you need to name the property. And then next, I'm probably going to get hit with what's the URL. If you want to give any additional information to a large party that's collecting all of your data, you can give it, or you can just skip it. So then if we're setting this up on a website, click web. And then this is where I will use my website now, or my URL. Now, I've done this before, so we'll see if this, typing over to my left, stream name, let's just call this HACKTICS. website. All right, create stream. So the stream is basically your property. Now, we have done nothing, right? We have done nothing so far other than create the stream. Next, what we need to do is connect the stream to your website. I'm going to use something called Google Tag Manager to do this because that is definitely the way that I would recommend. It's a tool that I've been using for a few years now. Google Tag Manager, it's going to be the way that I think more and more people implement this in the future. And so that's what I'm going to show you today. Now, I'm going to do a couple things first. I'm going to show you how to first set this up. I want to show you how to optimize just a few quick things first, and then we'll throw it into Google Tag Manager, and then we'll be done. So one thing that you want is enhanced measurement on. So enhanced measurement is, if you're going to be sending ads to people who are retargeting. We're going to talk about retargeting here in just a second. Let's just say that some nice folks visit our website and we want to put our offer back in front of them, right? Because they're very low down in the funnel at that point, and they're more likely to take us up on our offer. We want to be able to understand, what they're doing on our website. And so by toggling this on, we're going to collect a little bit more information about them so that we can put ads back in front of them. So I'm going to leave this toggled on. If you want to know more about, what you can enable, then you can do this here, but everything is kind of on by default. Now I'm in the US and I want to collect this data. If you're in Europe, then I think things are going to be different with GDPR. No comment on that. I think the only problem not the only problem, where my 2 cents lie in that is, if we could collect data and then, I don't get any of this data, right? So it all goes to Google, and then I'm running ads from Google. So it's not like I'm collecting a whole bunch of data from individuals. Your beef is not with me for collecting your data. Your beef is with some other third party. So anyways, I want to leave this on. We're not going to mess with anything down here. Remember, we're just doing this quickly. So I'm going to go over to data settings though. And I want to do 2 things. I want to do data collection. I want to just get started. I want to turn this on. So this is going to enable me to collect audiences now. So think about it this way. So right now we're collecting information. Now I want to turn that information into audiences, specifically remarketing audiences. So I'm just going to click get started. I'm going to click continue. This activates your Google signals. So this is basically all you need to enable retargeting and to enable your retargeting audiences. So then I'm going to scroll down and just click I acknowledge this. Then there's one more thing that I need to do. It's data retention. I want to collect data. Unfortunately, I want to collect it for a long time because at the end of the day, the way to win growth marketing or internet marketing is by just looking at patterns of data. So I want to be able to retain this data as long as I can. The longest option that I have in G4 is 14 months. So I'm going to go to 14 months. I don't want it to do 2 months. Now, reset user data on new activity. What this means is if somebody comes in on day 1 and then for some reason they don't visit the website again, and they visit on day 13 or month 13, that's going to reset that person to month 1. So I'll click save. So that's all that we have to do to get this set up. So we've created our stream. We have enabled our Google signals, and then we've updated our retention to 14 months. So we got this data setting collection. I want to go to my data stream. So here's my stream, and I'm going to copy this measurement ID. So we've created our Google Analytics G4. Next, what we need to do is just connect it to our website. So right now it's basically optimized for collecting data, but it's not connected to a website. So there's 2 ways that you can do this probably, and it depends upon wherever you're hosting your website. If it's on Shopify, you're probably going to do a native integration. If it's on WordPress, you're going to have to use a plugin. For this, I would typically use Google Tag Manager, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video. So I'm going to go over to Google Tag Manager. So Google Tag Manager is already on my website. It's already collecting all of this information. It's not collecting information. Stop, Jason. Stop and think about what you're saying. So Google Tag Manager is where I'm housing all my tags and pixels. It's just a really good spot to store all of your tracking info. And so I'm going to connect my Google G4 to my Google Tag Manager because it's already connected to everything else. So I'm just going to go to Tag Manager. I'm going to create a new tag. You can do this in approximately, I don't know, somebody time me. I'm going to name this. So I'm creating a new tag, G4. I'm going to say analytics. You can name it whatever you choose. Tag configuration. I'm just going to do G4 configuration, paste in my measurement ID. Where do I want this to fire? Well, I want it to fire on all pages. And this is it. This is literally all that I need to do in order to set up your G4. So if you're panicking about this, I just solved this issue for you in approximately 5 minutes. If you would speed me up, and that is how to set up your G4. Or you can go out and do this as a service for somebody because I know that people are really going to struggle with this, but it's really not that difficult. I think the hardest part is actually getting Tag Manager onto your website. That's the technical piece. And so then from here, I would click Save. Then you need to publish this or submit it. So I'm not going to submit this because I'm just going to remove this because I already have a G4 already created, so I don't really need 2 containers on there, unless I can be convinced otherwise. So if you have any questions on that, go ahead and drop that in the chat. I know it's absolutely riveting this G4, but that's the way how to do it. Now, it gets a little bit more, I'm not going to say complicated, but it gets a little bit more complex beyond that. So that's like the basics, right? We've hooked up analytics to start getting data. Then you need to use that data in order to inform your own decision making. That's a good question. Inform your own decision making and how to use that data. So typically you're going to do 2 things with that data. One is you're going to collect and create audiences for retargeting, but 2, you're going to use that data to understand what your ROI is. So in order for you to understand your ROI, you first have to have an endpoint in your funnel. This is a plug for Mastering Funnels. So Mastering Funnels is a course that I walk you through how to think about funnels. And this is the fundamental step 1 of you need to have an endpoint in your funnel. And so typically this is a thank you page. If somebody buys, if somebody opts in, if somebody books a phone call, if somebody requests a quote, if somebody downloads. So you need this endpoint. And so in G4, you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to create a conversion. Now, I'm not going to go into the specifics in this video because if I do, it's not going to be very exciting at all. But what Google Analytics now, what G4 is shifting to is events. So the event that we're going to get into our G4 is this page view. Did somebody visit a page? So did they hit that thank you page? And then, so what we need to understand in G4 is, did somebody hit this page? If they did, that is a conversion. So a conversion in this case, let's just say that it's somebody buying this course from me, which you should do if you haven't, because there's a 14-day money back guarantee. I'm going to stop plugging it. So let's say that somebody hits that thank you page. What I can then do is I can understand where that person came from in order to buy that course. If they came from a live stream, I could probably tell that. If they came from a YouTube ad or a TikTok ad or a Facebook ad, I can tell that. So that tells me, Jason, go spend more money on advertising to so-and-so here because we can track the ROI all the way in. Now, the other thing that conversion does is if I'm running ads on YouTube or if I'm running ads on Google, like search, is that creates a feedback loop for that AI machine learning. So if we're running ads on YouTube and somebody clicks and buys, we just tell YouTube, hey, somebody bought. So repeat that process. Go find somebody else who looks like this person. And that is the power of analytics right there. It enables your machine learning and it enables your ROI. That's about all I should say on it right now, but there's certainly a framework, and this is not a plug, this is me explaining. So the first thing that we have to do is just understand what our funnel is. Typically, it's just something, our offer is what we're trying to get somebody to do on our website. That's a call to action. Book a call, download now, start your 2-week free trial, buy this item. And then if they do that thing, then they're redirected to that thank you page. And then from there, we want to set up our conversions. And then obviously we can track it all the way through if we use something called UTMs. And then let's just say that you, viewer, get to get to my website, you put this in your shopping cart or whatnot, but you don't buy. That is where retargeting comes involved. And that's what we're talking about next. So let's shift towards that, right? Believe it or not, guys, believe it or not everybody who comes to your website is ready to take action right now, right? Even in the land of lead gen, I think this is a good analogy of there are shoppers and there are buyers. So if something, I give this example, right? Let's just say that we had a big storm in Nebraska a couple of weeks ago, and definitely people are going to need to get new roofs or new siding or new windows or new gutters because of that. They're probably going to go check out different, exterior companies. And what they're going to do is they're going to look around. They're probably going to see 3 or 4 something, right? Nobody's buying at that time, but they're shopping. And so what then these businesses should do is put retargeting ads in front of the people who have come to their website. Why? It's because the people who have visited a website are probably there because they've heard about it from somebody. Maybe they've searched and they have intent. Maybe they're just doing their good due diligence, but they're not convinced about your offer yet. They're not convinced about your company. That is where retargeting ads are so gosh darn powerful, because what you can do with retargeting ads is essentially earn the trust of the visitor. And the way that we earn the trust through our visitors are through testimonials and through education. We talked about it last week. John on the feed said, let's just combine those into edumonials, which is a nice term that I'll use from now. Now, before I talk about retargeting, I didn't even put on the captions. There we go. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I have to just repeat everything now that I didn't have the captions on. Anyways, I do want to go to a question. The question is this. It is, what are the main differences between Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager? Good question. So let's kill this. Okay, so somebody on Facebook asked this. So what are the main differences between Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager? Imagine this. Imagine Google Tag Manager being this empty box on your website that holds everything. So inside of Google Tag Manager is where I put my Facebook pixel, everything. My Google Analytics. It is a container that holds all of these things, right? My TikTok pixel, my remarketing tag, my conversion tag. So it is the box that holds all of my tracking info. So if I spin up a landing page, all that I have to do is just take my Google Tag Manager, copy and paste onto that landing page. It takes in all of my tracking info and it's just replicated right there on that. So it is a container. It is also something that is listening to my website. So listening for specific events. Do they click a certain button? Do they scroll so far? And then if they do, there's a lot of people watching now. Hey guys. If they do, then I'm going to send that data into my analytics. So imagine analytics is your data warehouse where you're sending data in. Well, Tag Manager is where we connect your Google Analytics to your website. It's kind of the in-between, but it's also where we create all of these things called events, where then we push we push those events into our analytics. Let me give you an example because this is kind of getting a little bit fuzzy. Let's just say that your business runs on phone calls. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea to get phone calls to get people on the phone to sell to them, right? So how do we send in events to your analytics with a phone call? In times like I use Calendly on my website. So Calendly is a phone booking or a phone call booking software. So what we can do with Calendly is we embed it on our website. So it's an iframe embed. If you don't know what that means, basically it's not really sitting on your website. It's not sitting on your server. It's sitting on somebody else's server, but it's just embedded in your website. So how do we connect that to your analytics? Well, fortunately, it has some integrations, but you could use Google Tag Manager to do this. So Google Tag Manager could listen to Calendly to see if somebody books a phone call. And then it would take that listening event and send that information into your analytics. Now, if you use something called UTMs, which is week 3 in mastering funnels, you will know exactly where somebody booked that phone call from. So if it was an ad, if it was an email, if it was a blog source, if it was whatnot, that is how you really understand the internet right there. That is the hidden I don't know, the hidden sauce of the internet is UTMs. So that's kind of the main difference. So Google Tag Manager is where you're housing all of your tracking elements. Google Analytics is your sort of data vacuum that's just sucking everything in and understanding where your traffic is coming from and then what they're doing on your website. So really good question. If you understand these two things, my goodness, you could create a very successful business just doing these two things for businesses. Setting up their Google Analytics and setting up their Google Tag Manager. At the end of the day, internet marketing all comes down to understanding how to read patterns of data. If you can understand how to read patterns of data and where certain clicks are moving the needle for your business, then that is all that you need. Most businesses fly absolutely blind when it comes to understanding, their data. Why this is so powerful is because if you can connect your ad spend or your efforts or your time to an actual revenue, then that gives you an ROI. So if you are running ads on TikTok and you're spending $50 a day, and you know that you can close a client or close something every week, and that revenue is somewhere like $2,000, well, then your ROI into TikTok is obviously your time in creating the ads, but in terms of your ad spend, that's 7 times 50. Somebody do some quick math. That would be $350. You yield $2,000 on the other side. Why would you ever stop? Why would you ever stop? Well, you would stop because you can't follow it all the way through. So if you don't have Google Analytics, you can't understand that. If you don't have a conversion, if you don't have a thank you page, you're just not going to know. So again, plugging for this. This is the way that you use the internet. You read the numbers. All right. If there's any other questions, lay them on me. Feeling good. But let's talk about retargeting. Let's say that they check you out. All right. And this works for e-com. This works for SaaS. That's software as a service. This works for leads. This works for service-based industries. This works for every single website. So what we need to understand here, hopefully I have time to get into both of these. So what is retargeting? Well, retargeting is putting your ads back in front of somebody who's visited the website. Why is that important? Why would I start there? I'm a big proponent of always setting up retargeting ads before you set up anything else because of this. People are right outside your door. People are knocking on your door. If your door is a metaphor in this case for your website. So people are on your website. They're knocking on your door. They're checking you out, but for some reason they don't book that phone call. They don't buy. They don't do something, right? Retargeting is literally putting your money in front of your hottest prospects. And this is something that I've come to just really like to do because it's fun, because people find this difficult. And I think there's an easy way to explain this. So imagine this. Imagine that you are going after, I don't know, anything. I used that roofing example earlier. Let's just say that a plumber would be a bad idea because plumbers, you need that problem solved. I'll just go with the roofing, right? So you need a roof and you're looking around. And you're not quite sure who to go or who to do business with. And so all of a sudden you can visit all these different roofing websites. You get back on your phone later on in the day and you start to see these ads and they're testimonials about this roofing company. All of a sudden you're like, okay, all right, I see why I should go with this roofing company. Now, it makes way more sense if you're that roofing company, makes way more sense to spend your money on the people already looking at your website, already interested in your offer versus trying to just go get new customers who don't need a new roof, right? So you always start down here at the bottom of your funnel when you're advertising. It just makes too much sense. So that is why we always go down the retargeting angle first, is just because it's typically your best money spent. If you're doing radio ads, if you're doing TV ads, if you're doing whatever, and you're driving people to your website, stay in front of them by using retargeting ads. It's probably going to be your best ROI of all of your marketing budget. Can't say that with a guarantee, but I guarantee that 10% of the time it works. I don't know, whatever. Anyways, so people though have questions about this. So you have to think about retargeting differently now because people have opted out of retargeting, and good for them for being able to opt out of all of this nonsense. It's not All of this could be encrypted and your data could be absolutely safe, except third parties decide that's too valuable. So your beef is not with me for retargeting. I don't know anything about you. I don't know your IP. I don't know anything like this. Your beef is with a third party. Could all be, like I said, encrypted and work probably just fine, I think. So retargeting is basically two ways to set this up. We can assume that if you have an iPhone, you've opted out of retargeting or you've opted out of third-party tracking. Do it if you haven't. So how do I retarget the people who have opted out of pixel tracking? So let's just say that somebody comes to the website on their device, their mobile device. I probably can't put ads in front of them, but not everybody has. So I'm going to have a specific retargeting campaign based upon page views of my website. So the way that opting out of pixels works is as soon as you leave the platform, let's just say Facebook, for example, you're on Facebook, you leave the platform, everything beyond that basically goes black. So Facebook doesn't know anything that happens after you click off because you have not allowed them to track you beyond their platform. Now, some people haven't opted out of that. So I want to run retargeting ads at those people who haven't opted out, obviously, because that is good. No, I'm not infringing upon your data. I don't know anything about your data at all. That's Facebook. That's Mark. Your beef is with him. But I'm going to create this little vacuum so that if you come to the website, I'm going to put these ads back in front of you. That said, here's another way to think about this. Let's say that you have or your customers have opted out, which is most people. Most people on an iOS device now, and this is going to be true for Android as well, most people who have opted out of iOS, most people who are on iOS have opted out of retargeting. But here's the kicker. Let's say we're on Facebook. Facebook still knows, or you can program it to know, right, that so-and-so left the platform to go to your website. So that, as a marketer, you still know that somebody was on Facebook, they saw your ad, they clicked on that ad, and then poof, everything goes black after that. Well, then restep or just back up to where that moment happened. So you can set up your retargeting for people who've opted out of like all of the pixel tracking, and good for them. You can still build a machine to listen basically to those people who have clicked on an ad and left the platform and visited your website. So we don't know what actions they take on our website, but we can assume that they saw the ad, they clicked on it, and then poof, they left. So we can put ads back in front of those people. So your ROI probably isn't going to be nearly as efficient there as somebody who was, as a page view on your website, but still the concept is sound. These people have been to your website already, or they've engaged with your ads already. They're lower down in the funnel already. Spend money on these people first rather than going to the top of the funnel and just spending people or sending your ads out to the nether, hoping that somebody needs that new roof. All right, more folks joining. I hope you are all doing well. I'm just having a good time here. Does AdBlock block Google Analytics code? So the question is, let's say, show this. Does AdBlock block Google Analytics code? I don't know. Good. That's a great question. I think what AdBlock does is block this is Jason, not knowing at all what he's talking about, but this is what I assume. So thank you for the assumed trust here. So I'm assuming that when we enable AdBlock, when we go to the internet, what we're doing is we are blocking out the ads on our browser. But when you go to the website, that is you willingly waving your hand saying, hey, I'm going to your server. I am yielding my data. So I'm going to your server and I'm going to go to your website. From then on, I believe that your data is captured, as well as it should be, because somebody's paying the bill for I'm paying the bill for my website. I'm paying for the hosting, the domain, and all of that. So if you come to my website, I should be able to get some data. Now, I don't get that data. That's the thing. That's what people don't understand. I'm not looking up your IP, and I don't get any of that. I just see, it's a page view from a location. That's it. Your beef is with other people, not me. So that's a great question. Let me do a little bit of research on that. It takes a strong man to say I don't know, but I'm neither strong. But I am a man. Okay, here we go. Facebook user, is there a solution to deduplicate retargeting across different retargeting solutions? That's a lot of words that I don't know. Is there a solution to deduplicate retargeting? So deduplicate typically means that you're taking a retargeting list, then you're removing some people from it across all the different retargeting solutions. The best way that I would do this, so when you're retargeting, I think I have something on this. No, I don't. So the logic that I explained in Mastering Funnels is this, and this is sound and this is great thinking. So when you're retargeting, you need to be thinking two things. Who am I targeting and who am I not targeting? So really, you should set up all of your retargeting campaigns with two lists. One, the people who you are targeting, and then two, you are excluding other people. The way that I would think about it is this. Let's just say that you're running a shopping retargeting, campaign. You want to retarget all visitors with a coupon or something like that, or everybody who's added something to cart, but you exclude everybody that has bought. So that's typically the way that you would think about it. If you're a lead gen campaign, or if you're a lead gen funnel and you've got a service or something like that you're doing, what I would do is I would have a list of everybody who has opted in. I would retarget basically everybody, but exclude. When I say everybody, I mean I would retarget the people who hit your website, or they're more qualified, they hit a specific landing page, but then exclude everybody who has opted in. You're going to have to do that. You can't use like a Facebook retargeting list on Google Ads. And so this is another reason why you should be using Google Analytics right here, is so you should have, that audience of people who visited a page on your website that you want to retarget, but then you exclude. You have an audience already built around that exclusion. So that's like a real-time audience that you can do. That's a great question. I could probably talk more about that. But essentially, what you're doing in Google Analytics is you have two audiences. You have like an all visitors. I'm just making this as simple as possible. All visitors, and then you have the people who've hit that thank you page. So what you're then doing is you're running ads at all visitors, but you're excluding that those people who've hit the page. And if you're using Google Analytics, then what you can do is that can be a real-time audience that's just always live and always on. I'm running out of time here. Okay. Good question here. What is the difference between search retargeting and site retargeting? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by this, but I believe what you're referring to is search retargeting. Let me mansplain. There is something called let me get this right, RLSA, retargeting list search ads. So search retargeting is if people come to your website via search, right? Or if people just come to your website. A search retargeting is there's two. I don't understand your question because there's two different answers. So you can put search ads in front of people who've only been to your website. So if you're running search ads and people with intent are searching, but you don't want to just send it to everybody, you only want to put it to people, or you only want to advertise that search campaign to people who visited your website, then what you can do is you can create a retargeting list search ad. So if people have been to your website, only then you are bidding on them. For site retargeting, you're assuming that people have visited your website and you're just putting display ads in front of them, or YouTube ads or search ads. For search retargeting, though, I'm not quite sure what you mean by this. There's one hack that I do is this. So there's obviously, when people are searching for a service online, they're using queries, right? And so you can try to win that click via search ads, but let's assume for a second that you don't, and they click on somebody else. Well, Google still knows that they typed that query in, so you could run display ads actually at anybody who has typed in those words. And so let's say you didn't get them on the search, but what you're going to do is then you're going to follow them around with display ads because Google knows which query that they typed in. It's a really good hack. Really good hack to use. I'm running out of time here. If I didn't address that question, sorry about that. I can go much more into depth on all of that. Last question, probably. How much you decide on the budget for your clients to run ads, as much as they need to spend. So retargeting is different than top of funnel. So retargeting, I'm typically thinking about, I don't want to frustrate people. Frustrate is a nice word. I don't want to make people mad with retargeting and seeing ads too often. So typically my retargeting budget is based upon frequency. How often do I want people to see these ads? So if I'm going in and I'm seeing that these people are seeing my ads like 5 times a day or 10 times a day, I need to remove my budget down. So it's really hard to kind of say what budget do I want to allocate to retargeting. It's really you're kind of adjusting it based upon how often that they're running ads. But if this were like a typical client, I would say $5 to $10 is probably enough to get you that data to see that metric. And the main metric that you're looking for there is your frequency. So how often is somebody actually seeing these ads? And then as far as like how much do I decide for the client to run? It's really down to the cost per acquisition, right? So the cost per acquisition is typically, this is a question that I ask most people, not most people, everybody. How much are you willing to spend to acquire a customer? So people know what a customer is worth to them, at least they should. And if you don't know, I show you how to do that in your math, show you how to work the math in module 1, Mastering Funnels. That's the thing that you need to know. So you need to know what your offer is priced at. So I've got 2 different offers. Mastering Funnels is $9.97. I've got another offer. It's $14.97. How much am I willing to spend in order to get a sale? And because I can track everything through with UTMs and conversions and everything that I teach, then I understand where my money is being spent and where it's utilized. So, I mean, ideally, if a client is getting that success and we can follow it all the way through, we spend more money every single month. That is the main goal in all of this growth marketing game. Now, I know it's different because sometimes back ends, you can't handle it. In software, it's nice because you just, buy more server space. But like in e-com, I've had a partner before where they got too overwhelmed, right? And or if you're a service-based business, you can't serve that many people. So that's kind of a delicate process of understanding how much to spend. But it always starts with what are they willing, like what is the sale worth to them? And then how much are they willing to pay? And that is the main guiding KPI. So let's just say I've got $1,000 for this. And let's say that I'm willing to spend $250 or $400 or $500. Well, that's what I'm looking at in my ad account. So how much have I spent? Am I getting any sales? And I'm just going back and forth between the two. And so long as the ratio works out, we will just spend more money. That's a great question. All right, that's it. I'm out of time for today. So thank you for watching. Thank you for all of the questions. Here's some calls to action. If you would like to learn more, you can follow along. There is a link below that says jasonwilmot.me. You can follow me on TikTok. I'm putting out content about twice a day. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you want to do Mastering Funnels, do that. I'm not ashamed at that at all because I have a moral obligation to sell because it is the best course out there when it comes to thinking about and how to facilitate funnels. So there's a 14-day money-back guarantee. Try it. If you don't like it, just email me back. Not a problem. So thank you very much for all of the questions. If you are watching this after the fact, go ahead and drop your questions below and I will answer them next Tuesday. I'm going to try to do this every week for a year. I am committed to it. And then if you want to kind of understand what we're doing on the backside of this, what I'm doing is I'm actually cutting this up. My team and I should say, not me. My team and I are cutting this up. They're cutting up these lives and then we're dripping them out on different platforms. So we're creating this long form content here on YouTube. And then we're going to slice it up and put it on TikTok and on LinkedIn and on Instagram and on Facebook and on Twitter. And we're using this kind of as this major way to create content. And then from here, what we're going to do is sort of drip it out amongst all the socials to build the following, build the audience, because an audience is important. And the intention of folks is getting more and more vital in order to move forward. If you have any questions about G4, let me know. If I can help you, let me know that too. There's a way to contact us on HACKTICS, or I think there's a way to contact me on the link on your screen as well. So anyways, this was a lot of fun. Thank you for all of the questions. I really do appreciate the folks just sticking around the whole time. Really good questions. And if you have anything that you didn't think of, again, throw this in the chat below and I can address it next week. All right. Take care of yourself. Be good to one another and all of that good stuff and call to action, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, guys, I do appreciate your time today. Enjoy the rest of your day and we'll see you